Welcome to the Millstone Report. Hope everybody out there had a great weekend. Today on the Millstone Report, we're going to talk about Virginia, specifically this Attorney General candidate challenging the current Republican Attorney General, Jason Miyares. Jay Jones essentially wishing death on a Virginia House Speaker. We're going to talk about all this because really it's a much larger discussion, and I think we need to pay attention to it specifically because in the governor's race between Winsome Sears and Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, if the Democrats take control of Virginia, it's just going to be another stronghold where all of the deep state can retreat to. There's going to be basically everything that we witnessed when the Democrats took control of Washington. Virginia's going to try to use their state power to go after everything that's going on in the Trump administration. But the broader topic we have to talk about is the left. Yes, Virginia. The left wants us dead. That is now a reoccurring theme, and it also really ups the stakes for the average American family if the Trump administration does not curb the violence of the left, does not hold the intel oligarchy accountable and put them in jail. Your average American family is being condemned to live under a full communist dictatorship if they resume power again. The Millstone Report starts now. Yeah, so welcome back. I hope everybody had a great Lord's Day. I hope you went to church. If you don't go to church, sorry, I'm trying to do a retweet here. If you don't go to church, I encourage all of you to find a church that preaches the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And I hope everybody that went to church had a wonderful day and a relaxing day. So here's the deal. Sorry, just a second. I'm retweeting the X-American News feed on my personal X account at Real Paul Harrell. So Democrat Virginia Attorney General candidate by the name of Jay Jones has been basically busted as a total sociopath, a psychopath, and a violent one at that, wishing the death of his political opponents. We now have text messages, I believe, from 2022 that were released by a House Democrat in Virginia, a state House Democrat in Virginia, who apparently just felt that it needed to be made public. I think that's how this happened, and it is extremely disturbing. Not only this guy, what he said, wishing not only for the death of the Virginia Speaker of the House, but also wishing for the death of his children, because maybe if they were to lose their children, that pain would cause them to change their opinions about public policy. Yeah, this is where we are. I mean, like something that could have easily come right out of Darth Vader's mouth or whatever. I mean, it's absolutely insane, and yet they'll call us the fascists. They'll call us. And what we have here is another real-world example of how both sides in America right now believe it strongly, that they have the moral high ground, that they are in fact morally superior. And I don't doubt, I certainly believe that what we are advocating here on the right is morally superior than, their woke sex religion. I fundamentally believe that. They, on the other hand, think that I am evil incarnate, or our side is evil incarnate, because we don't believe in their woke sex religion and the spirit of the age, where we just get more and more evil, more and more wicked as we careen on skis down a slippery slope. And so this is, again, another example of the impasse. Like, how do you want to solve something like the national debt, even if that even matters anymore? How do you do that? How do you solve what is it's less of a problem from a moral standpoint than trying to negotiate this with somebody that believes that a man can become a woman sitting across the table from you? You can't do that. We can't run society. We can't build anything, quite literally. I mean, the Baltimore Bridge is still basically unchanged from when it was, destroyed however many years ago, 2-3 years ago, whatever that was. I mean, but literally, you can't. How are you going to build a society or build things if you can't agree on men are men, women are women? How do you do that? And it's not, it's not all about the trans thing, but it certainly is a giant part of it. It's really the LGBTQ, RSTLNE, all of it, the woke sex religion, all of it has debased, corrupted the left's mind to such a degree that they don't even want to tolerate people that they might believe disagree with them on this. And that's where we are. We're literally at this point of totalitarianism, and because both sides think they have the moral high ground, one side is going to win. Will it be the woke sex religion communists, or will it be the law and order folks on the right? And can they even get the job done? Can they even get the job done? Because if they don't get the job done, and they don't winnow our enemies and essentially take these ideas, like whether it's confining the woke sex religion to the dustbin of history and everything that comes from that, and at the same time, yes, you have to secure the border, which is being done. Yes, you have to deport. Yes, you have to do all of these things that we're seeing. You have to secure the homeland. You have to secure Portland. You secure Chicago, secure D.C., secure New York, secure Memphis. By the way, the videos coming out of Memphis of how peaceful it is at this point is something to behold. So again, there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers at this point. If both sides believe they have the moral high ground, and our guys who are in power right now, if they pull their punches on these guys, and I'm specifically talking about James Comey, Clapper, and the rest of them that haven't been arrested yet, if they pull their punches on this, if we don't get to the bottom of the pipe bomb at J6, if we don't get to the bottom of the 2020 election, if we don't get to the bottom of COVID, if there's no accountability, and right now, I'm not going to hold my breath. I love that James Comey. Look, here's the thing. James Comey gets arrested. Okay. Great. Or no, he hasn't been arrested. Rather, sorry, he gets indicted. Okay. And then we get these reports that they're FBI agents that refuse to go arrest him. Refused to go arrest him because they just disagreed with it. Because this guy is like, I don't know, this guy's like Bear Bryant to them. Like James Comey to the left, and because of his Boy Scout image. They just don't want to believe that this guy is actually evil, because they don't want to believe that this guy's a sociopath, a compulsive liar, because that's exactly a narcissist. Man, such a narcissist. That's exactly who James Comey is. They don't want to believe that, though. They literally put this guy up on a pedestal. There are forces within the FBI that don't want to go arrest somebody who's been indicted. And we want to say that the rank and file aren't a problem in the FBI. Some people want to say that. Some people want to say that. Not that there aren't. I'm sure there are somewhere, good rank and file FBI, officials that just want to enforce the law. But we got big problems. And now, once again, you're hearing a growing chorus of voices start to say, voices starting to really seriously question what's going on at the Department of Justice, what's going on with Pam Bondi, what's going on with Todd Blanche. Now, Todd Blanche taking a lot of criticism, people leveling these accusations at Todd Blanche, saying he's the real one running the Department of Justice. He's the guy that's slow-walking all of this stuff. Then you had Matt Gaetz, who I like and trust, says, no, Todd Blanche is a good guy. Okay? Then you got David Warrington. I think, is he like the chief counsel of the president, chief counsel of the White House or something? Maybe he's the guy. People are starting to look at that. But there's a growing chorus of voices that are starting to say, has Donald Trump surrounded himself with the wrong people again when it comes to holding these people accountable? And again, if you don't hold them accountable, if the Dems get back in power, you're looking at full-blown mask-off communism. And it will directly affect your average Christian American family. Like, that's where this is headed. It's certainly where we were headed with Kamala Harris if she had gotten in, and I warned about Christians in boxcars, worst case scenario coming down the pike. That's where this was going after they were already arresting grandmas, protesting or praying outside of abortion clinics, everything. It was going to be so much worse. But now that, our guys are in there, are they really our guys? That's what people are asking now. And look, I get it. It's great. It's great that James Comey was indicted. But look what had to be done. They had to fire a U.S. attorney and put somebody else in who could do it at the last minute right before the statute of limitations ran out. And now we hear reports, and I hope these are true, that there's more charges going to be added onto this, a superseding indictment for Comey and the rest of them. But it's certainly taking way too long. And then on the other hand, I get the argument. Well, we want to make sure that we really get them right. Flimsy indictments that don't lead to convictions. I get it, because I've been saying for a long time now, and you guys know this, it's not just about arrests, it's about jail time. It's about prison. If you don't have the prison and you just get the indictments, then it's a big nothing burger. And we once again don't have any justice. So, but let's start with the violence of the left. Forgive my rambling. I just had to get that off my chest. The New York Post reports, again, Democrat Virginia AG candidate Jay Jones fantasized about a GOP politician getting 2 bullets in the head in a shocking text message. This is Victor Nava writing that Jay Jones, Virginia's Democratic nominee for Attorney General, sent a series of disturbing text messages to a former colleague in 2022 where he suggested the state's then House Speaker Todd Gilbert, Republican, deserved to be shot in the head. Quote, and I'm going to get to the text here in a minute. The texts were first reported by National Review on Friday. They were sent by Jones at around 8 a.m. on August the 8th to the Republican House delegate Carrie Coyner, who was very clearly in the messages. She was troubled by this. Jones initiated the exchange after he appeared to accidentally text Coyner bemoaning the glowing tributes centrist Democrat Joe Johnson Jr., a former state legislator who died just days before, had been receiving from Republicans, including House Speaker Gilbert. If those guys die before me, quote, I will go to their funerals and piss on their graves, end quote. So that's the context of how these messages came to be. So I've got them right here. I've got them pulled up. Let's actually read some of them. You may not be able to see all that on your screen, but so they're talking about this late politician who's passed away. He was a Democrat. Republicans were honoring him, saying nice things about him because he had passed away, because that's the decent thing to do. Because we're not anti-humanists, or we are anti-humanists. We're not anti-human, okay? We're recognizing people's dignity. We're not celebrating death because we are not in a death cult. So we have the blue texts are Coyner. The texts in blue are Coyner. The texts in gray are Jay Jones, the now candidate Democrat for Attorney General in Virginia. She says, they say nice things about everyone, LOL. And then he says, if those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves, send them out awash in something. In urine is what he's talking about. And she says, Jay Jones. And then he says, 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, meaning the House Speaker, Hitler, or Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets in the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. She says, Jay, please stop. He says, LOL, okay. And then she says, it really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death on them. Oh, well, this Democrat Coyner's lady, she seems to be, this is actually, we need to, this has been 2022. She seems to be, as much as the left is crazy, there is at least one state house Democrat in Virginia that was like, hey, man, you shouldn't be doing this. This is wrong. It's wrong, morally wrong, to wish death on other people or want to urinate on their graves. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe there's more Democrats out there like this, but I mean, I don't know where they are, but here's one. Here's one. Maybe we should celebrate that just a little bit. And then she says, you weren't simply asking questions and you know it. And he says, I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. And I'm sure this is somewhat, further down in the thread. She says, you weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. You were talking about hoping that Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. The Speaker of the House's children. And then he says, yes. I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. Again, that could be literally something out of, like, you think of the worst villain ever, like Emperor Palpatine. Like, only when you feel pain will you move on policy. Only when you will realize that your children are dead, then maybe you'll stop. That is sick, it's twisted, and it's evil. She says, there isn't. I point blank asked you more than 3 times, and you dug in, and you meant it. I honestly am questioning a lot today. He says, I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil? And that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. So, here it is. And honestly, we could camp out on that comment right there. I think, he says, I do think that Todd and Jennifer Gilbert are evil, and their kids are fascist, and essentially he's implying because of that, they deserve to die. The whole family just needs to be wiped off. We just need to get rid of the entire Gilbert line is essentially what he's saying, because I disagree with them politically, and they just don't see it my way. I can't convince them with the debate. I can't convince them with persuasion, so we need to kill them. And people wonder why Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Actually, really, nobody really wonders why. We know it's the violence of the left. But you really could. This goes to my point about moral high ground and moral superiority. He thinks they're evil. Not misunderstood. Not people that you can work with. He thinks they're evil. And so, what do you do with evil? Well, you eradicate it. Once you've made up your mind that these people are altogether evil, what do? And this is the rub. Barring a supernatural intervention where the left's heart is changed and there's repentance and faith in Christ, they believe they have the moral high ground on us. We believe we have the moral high ground. And again, I'll qualify that, that's not to say that I'm not a sinner and I don't mess up and I don't rely on God's grace every single day for every breath I take, or at least I need to. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from a practical standpoint, just like Charlie Kirk, hey, the gospel's true. If the gospel is true, what are the implications of that, and how we conduct ourselves in public life, how we conduct ourselves in public policy, what do our laws need to be, what do our laws need to be based on? These are all questions. And we don't agree on that anymore. We don't agree on the basic concepts of good and evil anymore. One side is totally godless. One side rejects God completely. And so both sides now think they are morally superior than the other. And one side is correct and the other side is wrong. So how do you deal with that? Outside, again, a supernatural revival. Well, it's imperative on the Republicans who are in power right now, all across America, to use the power they have been given while they have it to secure our country, to stop the wickedness, to stop this behavior. Republican red states have been doing this for a while now. They've been doing this whole time, trying to fight abortion when you couldn't. You just had to pass a law and hope you could whittle away it in the courts. Republican red states, though, Christian red states, they have been moving on the trans issue for a while, outlawing genital mutilation, outlawing puberty blocking hormones that are being used off label. And what's the reaction of the left? Well, in a state like Tennessee, Audrey Hale, who was convinced she was a boy, went into the Presbyterian school there in Nashville and killed people, killed staff members, killed children. The result is violence, because violence is the feature. Violence is the feature. It's not the bug. It's not the anomaly. It is now the feature because they've been told no. Because people have elected politicians, Christians in government. Those Christians have now passed laws based on this idea that we're not going to promote the things that God hates. And it may not be that explicit, although sometimes it really is. I've listened in my home state of Arkansas. I've listened to the politicians on this issue go to the wells of the respected chambers and talk about what the Bible says as a basis for why we need to vote for this or vote for that or not vote for this or not vote for that. I don't know. I can't emphasize more I cannot emphasize to you more how now is the time, again, to use the power that we have in all spheres of government to secure the country and stop this, because it's full. If we fail, it's full communist from here on out. If we fail, it is full communist, because they believe that we're fascists. They believe that ICE doing their job, rounding people up in cities, is somehow illegal. If it's up to them, if they get back in power, they're going to January 6th every single ICE officer they can possibly find. That's why right now we have reports where the cartels are now doxing. They're responsible for doxing ICE agents. And you don't think that there's people scared in the Justice Department? You don't think, was there anybody in the Justice Department that didn't want to perp walk James Comey because they were afraid if the Democrats back in power, they're going to go to jail? They're going to have some trumped up charge? This is where we are at, right? We think our power is legitimate. They think it's not. When they get in power, they will think that their power is legitimate, whatever they do to us, and we will think that it's not legitimate. This is where we are. It is very much Civil War conditions. I really think, not in the context of like the Grays and the Blues, forming in a field, but it's a modern day version of this. And at this point, we have to unashamedly say, our side not only needs to win, it should win, it has to win. It has to win. That's where I'm at. A few reactions. R.N. McIntyre writing, hang on, let me fix this real quick. My apologies. Zoom in a little bit. That's why you couldn't see the text message. I had the wrong setting on the desktop view. My apologies. Aaron McIntyre, he writes, they aren't calling for him to drop out, meaning Jay Jones. They're not calling for this guy to drop out after these text messages have been released. They're not calling for him to drop out, he says, because they agree with him. He's not an outlier. He's now the core of the party. I know this is terrifying, but you need to grapple with the implications. And that's what we're trying to do here on the Millstone Report this afternoon. We're trying to grapple with the implications. And I am just trying to convince you of how serious this is. This is serious. We can talk about the political implications of Virginia. If the Democrats take control, they're going to try to weaponize the Virginia government against the feds in D.C. We'll see how that works out. If they can't even do anything. But that's what they're going to try to do, because Abigail Spanberger running against Winsome Sears, and I'm not the greatest Winsome Sears fan, but, lesser of two evils. Spanberger is former CIA. She represents the intel oligarchy trying to create a place for deep staters like James Comey to flee to. Okay? That's what's going on here. Peter Hansen, I still can't get over that the Democratic nominee for Attorney General of my state was wishing death on children, and his fellow Democrats haven't called him out to stop. William Wolf, the director of the Center for Baptist Leadership, he says, I don't think most Republicans across the country have understood the gravity of the Virginia situation yet. If the Democrat candidate for Attorney General, Jay Jones, stays in the race and wins after being exposed for texting about putting bullets in the head of his Republican rival and wishing death on literal kids just because they have Republican parents, then the Democrats know that not only are there no repercussions for their violence and incitement, but that they will actually be rewarded for it. The fact that the Virginia Democrats haven't called on Jay Jones to drop out yet is a true mask drop moment. When Trump got exposed for some locker room talk in 2016, almost every major national Republican figure called him to drop out. But when a Democrat candidate for statewide office in a major state is caught fantasizing about murder, and after Charlie Kirk, and they aren't asked to bow out, it tells you Democrats are totally on board with political violence, period, forever. If they won't hold their own accountable, and they won't, then our only recourse is to beat them at the ballot box again and again. We must crush the left before they kill us. Yeah, William is right here. You have to keep winning at the ballot box, of course. But are you going to win forever? No. People got to go to jail. From top to bottom. Like, people have to be charged with crimes, and they got to go. And specifically, everyone behind the color revolution that's been enacted against the American people for the last decade. Everywhere from framing Trump for treason to COVID, J6, all of that. There's got to be justice. And if there's not justice, again, it is full communism from here on out. That's what we're in the midst of. Matt Walsh, he says, if Jay Jones becomes the Attorney General of Virginia, every conservative in the state will know that the chief law enforcement officer thinks that they deserve to be murdered along with their children. Imagine that. Imagine if you're a Republican in Virginia and this guy gets in and you're like, wow, this guy thinks I should be dead just because I'm a Republican. They will also know that the Democrat voters in the state, their own neighbors, friends, and even family members have endorsed that sentiment, meaning the Democrats around you, living by you, said, yeah. It will be the death of any sense of legitimacy in the system, the kind of thing that starts civil wars. I'm not saying there will be one. I'm saying it's the kind of thing that starts one. I hadn't read that part yet about the Civil War thing, so Matt Walsh and I are on the same page. Even MSNBC. Again, this is kind of startling here. We got a few clips to play. Even MSNBC's like, this Jay Jones guy needs to drop out.
Coming up, an attorney general candidate in Virginia is apologizing for his texts about a state lawmaker. We'll go through what the messages said.
Probably be forced to withdraw from the race, and probably is doing a lot there.
Yeah, so when you've lost Joe Scarborough, these guys can't lose anymore. They don't want to lose. Here's the governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin.
We had Charlie Kirk assassinated, and so many folks celebrated in the far left. We've had two Democrats threaten to murder two of our delegates running for office in Virginia. And now Jay Jones comes out and says that he has 2 bullets for Todd Gilbert's head and wants to see his children die. I mean, this is unbelievable. And what's shocking also is that after calling for the normal apology, the Democrat candidates, Abigail Spanberger and the rest of them, were out campaigning this weekend like it was nothing. They have got to call for this guy to resign, step down, get out of this race in disgrace, because this is beyond disqualifying.
Probably not going to happen. In a major shakeup, GOP governor candidate Winsome Sears released a devastating ad. So they've got this ad running now about this.
Start with breaking news from the campaign trail.
Jay Jones is under fire tonight.
Jay Jones is under fire.
Jay Jones is under fire after messages he sent in 2022 saying former Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert should be shot.
I'm excited about this ticket.
It's been great to be out on the campaign trail with Jay Jones.
You said Gilbert's wife could watch her own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views.
We deserve an attorney general who will stand up for the people of Virginia.
Jones said, quote, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head.
let your rage fuel you.
Jones doubled down, saying, quote, "Do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes."
How can Virginians trust a man who said something so horrific, so callously?
Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy.
Before we go any further, I want to remind you about Red Vive Health, and if you want to support the work that I'm doing here, I want you to go and look at the healing power of red light at redvivehealth.org/Paul or call 844-RED-VIVE. When you use my link, redvivehealth.org/Paul, you're going to save 35% off of these panels. 35%. And these are clinical strength panels you can have right in your home, big pharma, medical industrial complex. They don't want you to know about this. It's called photobiomodulation or biophotomodulation. I always get them confused. But the science is real. It's red light. It's near infrared light. It's naturally emitted by the sun when the sun rises and sets, when it turns red at the horizon. This is targeted doses, though. They up it. And you need it, especially if you're in a studio like this. And you're under the blue lights and the white lights, all that. You need the red light, not just for inflammation, but to also you can use it to avoid surgery in many cases. And that's why the orthopedic surgeon pipeline, they're not too thrilled with this technology. I want you to go to redvivehealth.org/Paul right now. Redvive, V-I-V-E, redvivehealth.org/Paul. That's the link where you get 35% off. Or you can just call 844-RED-VIVE. Talk to one of the great people there and mention my name, Paul, 35% off. Do it now. There's several different models, okay? 3 models, I think, kind of a tabletop one that's a little bit bigger. That's one I have. And then they got a giant one, that's like probably for somebody that wanted to, I don't know. I mean, you could get that one for your home as well. Anyway, 60-day money-back guarantee, 0% interest financing is also available. redvivehealth.org/Paul. Please go there. I would really appreciate it. I'm going to leave the logo up there just for the rest of the show, just so if anybody needs anything, go there. Here is Winsome Sears, the lieutenant governor who I believe is running for governor. This is what she said about Jay Jones.
The calls for hate and violence are coming from the mouths of the Democrat Party's leaders. And Jay Jones is just the most recent, and his wish for violent acts the most clear. So if you can't solve a problem, you can't name it, but I will. And here and now, the leadership of the Democrat Party has become consumed with hate.
Well, that's certainly a true statement. We know that, consumed with hate, 100%. Again, the politics of the Virginia race aside, although I do think that's important, Ivan Raiklin, our friend that came on weeks ago, he certainly thinks that's important. I think he thinks that Spamberger, if she wins the governorship in Virginia, again, is going to use the state of Virginia's power to go after Trump, basically, to go after everybody in his administration. Anybody doing anything they don't want, they're going to charge them with charges because it's happening in Virginia. It'll set up obviously court battles and everything else. But that's what could very well happen. Kind of a precursor to if the Dems take the House, they're going to impeach Trump again. So Seth Gruber says they want to murder us. This is not hyperbole. Wake up. That's right. This is the guy, Jay Jones, sent the text messages that thinks, hey, maybe if your children are dead, you'll come over to my side. You'll rethink your public policies. A sick person. And that speaking of sick people, that brings, and we can tie all of this in. We can tie all of this together with the story of Logan Tipton. 6-year-old boy, 10 years ago or more, was murdered. Stabbed to death in front of his family, in front of his father, after a criminal broke in and attacked this entire family. And Logan Tipton was murdered. And now his murderer is being set free after only serving 10 years in prison. So, I mean, the entire to say the entire system is broken is a total understatement at this point. But with cashless bail and everything that's gone on, they want more of this to happen. I don't see how you can conclude anything else other than they want they're advocating the violence, and then when it happens, they excuse it, they wash it away, because if the perpetrator's black, which in this case the murderer was, that just conflicts with my, I can't let the demographic statistics stand for themselves. We got to let this guy out. Matt Walsh says there's a lot going on and it's easy to lose track of important issues, but we can't forget about this one. They let the man who stabbed and killed Logan Tipton walk free. This should be a rallying cry that sparks major systematic changes. There must be justice for Logan. So on this story, we now according to reports, Colin Rugg saying that Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirms that the White House is now looking into how a child murderer was able to be released from prison after just 10 years. 6-year-old Logan Tipton was stabbed so violently in the head by Ronald Exantis in 2015 that the butcher's knife bent. Exantis has now been released early due to good behavior. I can confirm the White House is looking into this. It's wholly unacceptable for a child killer to walk free after serving several years in prison. We've got a kind of an amalgamation of two different local affiliates' reports on this story, and it's going to do a better job of explaining what happened than me.
I held him so deep in my arms, and finally, he took his last breath, looked at me, and closed his eyes, and he was gone.
Ronald Exantis traveled from Indianapolis to Versailles, walked into the Tiptons' home, and attacked the family in their sleep. Logan was killed, and his father and 2 sisters were injured.
He snaps, and he just stands up with me sitting on top of him, and he throws me across the room. 10, 15 feet, he throws me across the room and goes after her.
3 years later, in 2018, Exantis...
That's pretty strong. That sounds, honestly, I think in this day and age, it sounds demonic, sounds like possession.
...was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity, but convicted of assaulting other family members. And just this month, October 1st, Exantis was released early from prison for good behavior.
It's infuriating that a 6-year-old was killed sleeping in his bed, and someone literally only did 10 years in prison, and he didn't even do the time for that. He did time for assault charges. It's just infuriating.
But the family says it isn't just anger they're living with. It's fear.
Me and my siblings and even my mom and dad, from here on out, we have the burden of making sure that he doesn't come back.
He told her he was going to kill every one of us. So now I've got to be on extra guard to protect my kids, because I will not lose another one. Not like this. I laid in bed. I gave up. I gave up on life. I gave up on my family. I gave up on everybody. I just wanted to die.
Everybody deserves a fighting chance to have justice for them, and it's not.
I've had my talks with God, because I'm not afraid to tell you all. I told the court, if I ever cross paths with him, I will kill the man. I will kill him where he stands.
That is an understandable position from this grieving father. So, again, I'm just going to sound like a broken record. If you have power, if you're in political office and you have power, use your power. Do it. There's so many things that could be done right now. I know the government's shut down. Most people's lives haven't changed at all. I get it. Whatever. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole. Come on. It's time. It's time to move the ball down the field at a breakneck speed. and totally overwhelm the Democrats. Totally overwhelm the left. But you can only do that if you've got people that you trust in positions of power that are not going to keep things from the President of the United States, that are not going to keep him in the dark on things they don't want him to know about. Until it gets to a fever pitch and he makes a Truth Social post to Pam Bondi saying, Pam, everybody's saying that like our credibility's shot because nobody's been arrested. Speaking of the violence of the left, police in South Carolina have launched an investigation into the fire at South Carolina Judge Diane Goodstein's house. This is what it looked like. Totally engulfed in flames. According to reports, her husband is a former state senator, Arnold Goodstein, was rushed to the hospital along with other family members. They had to jump out the windows. Their pets passed away in the fire, and they don't know if it's accidental or arson. South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace says Judge Diane Goodstein's Edisto Island home burned to the ground while her family was inside. They survived by jumping from windows. 3 were injured, including her husband, former Senator Arnold Goodstein, who remains hospitalized. The fire also killed the family's pets. If this was targeted political violence or arson, those responsible must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. South Carolina is done tolerating crime, chaos, and cowardice. So, I mean, we don't know. We really don't. We have no idea what the cause of this was, but, you know, that's a nice house in what sounds to be a very affluent, rich part of South Carolina. Yeah, fires can happen all the time, but everybody's... I mean, my first thought is, oh, yeah, it probably is political. Like if I'm a betting man at this point in history, right, and I was going to make a bet, I would bet that it was political violence, that it was politically motivated. In the meantime, President Trump has ordered 300 National Guard troops to Illinois, and so this is certainly a positive development.
Mind up on Chicago, though? Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C.
I think this is an old clip, actually. I think this is from several weeks ago. But we do have what's going on in Portland, and we have another federal judge that has now blocked Donald Trump from controlling the National Guard in Portland. It's long past time for Trump to just ignore this. This is insane. This is insane. He's the commander-in-chief, and Portland is very much becoming a war zone.
We're going to look at that. It was amazing. Portland is burning to the ground. It's insurrectionists all over the place. It's Antifa. And yet the politicians who are petrified. Look, the politicians are afraid for their lives. That's the only reason that they say, like, there's nothing happening. And you've seen it. The place is burning down, and they pretend like there's nothing happening. So we'll take a look at the order.
If Republicans had all of the courts the way the Democrats do, and there was injunction, national injunction after national injunction, you and I both know the left would ignore them. You and I both know the left would ignore them. You say, well, Paul, we're not like them. We're past those games. We're past those games. Well, what'll happen if they get in power and we've ignored it and then blah, blah. I don't know. Maybe they would, indict a former president. They would send a talk show host to jail like Steve Bannon or a former advisor to Trump to jail like Peter Navarro. I mean, what could they do when they get in power? I have no idea. Look, it is either full communism or people in power use their power for the good of the people that live here and have to live here from here on out. We either win or it's full communism. That's where I'm at today. I am very worried. I am very concerned. I don't think the people in Donald Trump's administration. I mean, there are some good ones. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. I wish these people would go back on the podcast circuit or whatever. I just want somebody to acknowledge this. If you fail, you are condemning all MAGA, Republicans, Christians, white people, whatever. Like, if you fail, you are condemning us to a time of much consternation. I mean, according to Ed Martin, according to Alex Jones, who spoke with Ed Martin several weeks ago, Jack Smith, had they won, they have the emails where Jack Smith was going to do mass communist show trials. They were going to try hundreds of people a time in absentia, according to Jones. And Ed Martin, who's in the DOJ, allegedly told Jones they've got the emails. They've got Jack Smith's emails planning this. They were going to try hundreds, if not thousands, of people. So you either go after those people with the DOJ, or you are condemning your own voters to a life of communism and everything that entails. And this is what I can't. I think about this almost constantly. Almost constantly, I'm thinking about this. Larry Schweikert, historian. I need to get Larry on the show. Either this show or the Paul Harrell program. Larry's a great interview. He wrote The People's History of the United States. I have that book. It's a very thick book. He says, we now learn that the cartels are doxing our officials involved in deporting, including Noam, and are putting bounties on their heads. The Democrat Terror Party cannot escape this. They are completely in league with this heinous, vile, satanic movement. While they are spooging out for zip-tying the hands of criminals, don't care what age they are here illegally, the real story is that there is no end to the terrorism of the Democrat Party. It must be crushed as an entity. See, Larry Schweikert gets it. The Democrat Party does need to be politically decapitated. The criminals need to be gone after. I mean, it has to go away at this point. That's how bad it is. And in the meantime, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is now, I guess he thinks he has authority. He's trying to make sure ICE can't stage on public property.
And today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids. And today, we are signing an executive order.
Okay, good luck with that. It shouldn't matter. That shouldn't matter at all. Feds should just do whatever at this point, do what you got to do. It really should not matter. So, the overall theme of the show today has been, I don't know, it's just one. This is very much therapy to me. Like, I'm going to feel a lot better after I get off here. And the Paul Harrell program is going to start in 3 hours and 12 minutes with my co-host Rob Spencer today. I'm sure we'll be talking about all kinds of things, this and anything else that breaks between now and then, and I don't even know what possibly has broken. Let me just do a little refresher real quick, just to see if we've got anything new or breaking. Since this is a one-man operation, I don't exactly. I don't have anybody give breaking news. Yeah, I don't see anything that's standing out at the moment. But what I do have for you is it's time for my favorite segment. You guys know what time it is.
And let us confess our faith today in the words of the Sparkle Creed. I believe in the non-binary God.
And now it's time for I'm Already Against Women Clergy. You don't have to convince me.
So for this edition of I'm Already Against Women Clergy, you don't have to convince me. It comes from Woke Preacher Clips, which is an excellent follow. If you would like to give them a follow, you will not be disappointed. We now go into the woke liberal denomination of the Presbyterian Church USA. A pastor or pastrix called Amy Heinrich praises the Phoenician woman's calm and measured response to Jesus's bigoted and offensive speech as a template of how to handle conflict. Now, I don't want to run out of time here, so I'm going to stop and go here. But before we do that, let's actually read the scripture she's preaching out. She's preaching out of Matthew 15, chapter 21, or verse 21. Matthew chapter 15, verse 21. The faith of the Canaanite woman. And Jesus went away from there and withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and was crying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon." But he did not answer her a word. His disciples came in and begged him, saying, "Send her away, for she's crying out after us." And he answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." And he answered, "It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." She said, "Yes, Lord," in full humility. "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "O woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you desire." And her daughter was healed instantly. Okay. It's pretty straightforward text. Let's see how woke PCA pastric lady doesn't like it. She thinks what Jesus said was bigoted.
Yet let me make it clear here that even when our words have become noxious or hateful, the response should never be violence. Political violence is always wrong, period. Yes, words can set in motion dynamics, but we have a choice. How we speak and how we respond when we hear language that we find deeply offensive. The fruit of the Holy Spirit is the self-control to not respond to lies.
So you see what she's doing here. In her telling of that passage that we just read, Jesus is the bad guy. He's not the King of Kings. He's not God. He's not sinless because he's, he made a mistake. Wait to what she says here in a minute. No. They're literally turning and totally perverting. She's totally perverting the humility of the Canaanite woman, recognizing, hey, this guy has all authority. This guy is this is God. And I'm grateful for even a scrap that I get from him. And he's merciful to her when she's not entitled. See, in this world, she thinks that the woman is entitled for Jesus to give her things. That's not how it works. That's not how it worked in that passage. See, this is feminism taking over the church, where they can't handle being told no. They can't handle being put in their place. So they look at that passage and they don't see a perfect Savior being gracious to somebody with a repentant and humble heart. No, you see, well, Jesus was in the wrong. Listen.
Bigotry and hatred in kind, but to take a deep breath. Respond to lies, bigotry, and hatred in kind.
She says that what Jesus said to her about the bread's for the children, not for the dogs, is bigotry and hatred.
But to take a deep breath and speak our truth with courageous love.
Making the woman the hero.
I have chosen the story of the Canaanite woman's engagement with
such
Jesus.
Blasphemy.
Let us take a closer look at how she was able to choose her words carefully in response to some offensive language.
You get it? The woman is the hero. It's not Christ who is mighty to save and who is the hero. No, we're turning the tables with this hermeneutical sleight of hand.
and turn the situation around in a hopeful and healing manner.
Yeah, see,
we know her.
It wasn't Christ that turned the situation around. It was the woman who heard the bigotry and her daughter was healed because she had the right words.
Well, and recognizing her heart deep struggle. Is it any wonder that we are troubled by Jesus' response today?
I'm not troubled.
One interpretation of this story is able to adequately explain or explain away Jesus' seeming effort to dehumanize this woman and her child by comparing the suffering little one to a dog. Oh, we might summarize that Jesus was just tired, that perhaps his retreat into the region of Tyre was really meant to be just that, a retreat from the constant pressure bearing down on him from countless needy, suffering people.
They don't believe Jesus was sinless.
And those earthly authorities who sought to stand in the...
And Paul was really like, I do not permit a woman to have authority over a man in church. Like, do not want women teaching men in church.
The way of who and what he was called to be and do. Maybe Jesus' weariness is what is heard in this seemingly instinctive response. Maybe in this short vignette we realize that Jesus was every bit...
Or maybe Jesus knew everything that was happening around him and was about to happen and knew this very story is going to be written down in the Gospels and it's supposed to happen this way. To illustrate a lot of things, to illustrate, hey, I came to the house of Israel, going to be rejected. We're going to foreshadow the fact that the gospel is now for all the nations. No, that couldn't be that. See, these people so want to separate the historical Jesus from the supernatural Jesus. It's very common in this heretical female-led denomination. They so want to separate the historical Jesus from the supernatural Jesus, but when you do that, there is no historical Jesus. Because Jesus, and it's the supernatural part, is the integral part to his mark on history. Not just history, but all of time. All of our existence, in fact.
Actual flesh, blood, and bone as he was divine. So this is why I cannot but wonder if this story is a powerful reminder to us that Jesus is not static. That he was shaped and influenced by real forces all around him, born into and living in a particular time and place with all it meant. Indeed, could it be so that in the Gospels we actually bear witness to the story of one who is a work in progress?
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Woke pastrix. Jesus was a work in progress.
This has been I'm Already Against Women Clergy. You don't have to convince me.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, folks. Obviously, Jesus wasn't... literally, like that is it's so infuriating to me. But when it's important to hear this is the type of preaching that is still going on across this country today, and people are being led astray. I mean, what about the children in the audience that just heard Jesus was a work in progress? Not that Jesus is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, kiss the Son or perish. Like, not that. It comes from this very warped view of who God is. And they don't like what they read in Scripture. They can't imagine a man, let alone Jesus Christ. Like, they can't imagine a man talking to them the way Jesus talked to the Canaanite woman. And because it would just be, so offensive. How dare you? And even when Jesus Christ himself speaks the way he did, they take offense to it. They can't even hear, if it contradicts with their worldview, they can't say, well, this is Scripture. This is the character of God that's being revealed in Scripture, and it just is what it is. He's God. You're not. Get over yourself. No. Can't get over myself because I'm a feminist woke pastrix. Sorry, I feel better now. Got that off my chest. I'm going to be back here in 3 hours for the Paul Harrell program with my co-host Rob Spencer. We'll be broadcasting on X American News, as well as other platforms that you can catch the show, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, that sort of thing. Really appreciate you guys being with us. Feel free to sound off in the comments. Overall theme of the show, something's got to be done about the violent radical left and where we're going. We're either going to have law and order, we're going to winnow the enemy, or we're going to have full-blown communism when they get back in power. These are the choices, in my opinion. I could be wrong about all this. Again, I said at the top of the show, barring a supernatural intervention, that appears to be where we are headed. God bless everybody out there watching, and I'll see you 3 hours from now.
The very foundation of the Christian faith is based